Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Music Biz, a Raised Rowdy podcast. I'm your host, Peyton Heben. This is episode 15. Today we're joined by a very special guest. For me, he doesn't even know it. He's the Senior Creative Director of A&R at Seagale Music Publishing, and he's the tour manager for John Langston. So please welcome JD Groover.
What's up, dude? Thanks for having me this morning.
Absolutely. What I was saying about you being such a special guest and not even knowing it is I didn't go to school for music business or anything like that. So I listened to podcasts when I was first coming to Nashville on my drives or on my flights. And I listened to the one with Burrell. I think that was 2022.
Yeah.
And then that was the main one. I listened to that and I was like, I want to follow after this guy.
Well, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, sorry. Let's tighten that up. There we go. The Raised Rowdy boys have always been super close to me. Going back to Nicky T before he even moved here, he's just a guy that I watched from afar, kind of do his own thing and do so much good for unsigned artists and up and coming writers. He was a real champion for him. So for them, and John was playing Jurgles in Warrendale, Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh area, and we had him come out to a show and hang, and man, I just fell in love with Nicky, and then having Matt get in with him, and now you. I mean, it's cool, and we're in a nice studio, and the first podcast I did at Jurgles was just a tape recorder or something. I think I don't even remember. There was no video, and just to watch, Nicky evolve this process and it grow to where this is now. It's really cool to just kind of see all that go down kind of from the beginning. So
yeah, definitely. They played such a huge part of my career. I mean, when I first moved to town, I had reached out to Nick before I even fully moved. And he was like, yeah, like come on board, write articles for us, do whatever you can. Introduce me to so many people. And listening to Burrell's podcast and then his Raised Rowdy podcast, Nick's, it changed my career entirely. It's how I learned everything that I knew. So, and your episodes were some of the ones that, like...
I appreciate that, man. I'm not really a me guy. I'll start off by saying something really cool. There's a guy named Jeff Stevens. He produces Luke Bryan. He also had his own thing going back in the day. He wrote Carrying Your Love With Me, all these George Strait cuts. I mean, Jeff Stevens is like... And even his son produces Langston and some other folks, and he's a hit songwriter himself. He put something on Facebook one day and said, nobody got here by themselves. And when you get to a point where you can reach your hand down and pull somebody up, you should do that at all times. Because this town's hard. There's 84 people a day that move here. They want your spot. They want Nicky's spot. They want my spot. They want, Luke Bryan, Luke Combs' spot. They want those spots. So, you need every little bit of help you can get. And I appreciate all the kind words. I just, half the time I'm just talking. I don't even remember what I say. I had to go back and listen to that. But because Maddie and I can get off course a little bit on that stuff. Because, he came from the touring world too. And, he's ate shit. He loves hot dogs at 4:00 in the morning just to get through and packing lips. And, so I got a lot of love for Raised Rowdy, and it's cool to see you kind of hop on board. And I didn't even know that. So I appreciate that.
Definitely. So you're from Florida?
I'm from Georgia. I'm from Exit 1 on I-95 right over the line. It's a lot of confusion because I love the Jacksonville Jaguars and I love the Florida Gators so much, but we got Jacksonville cable growing up, so that's why that's there. But no, I'm from as South Georgia as you can be, and the Brunswick area, and it's right off the coast. It's like one of the best places to grow up, man. So
nice. I spent some time in Brunswick a lot. I went to Georgia Southern. I dated a girl.
Oh, hell, Southern, man,
from Brunswick.
I love that, dude. I went to Valdosta State. Newly graduated in 2023. Started in 2000.
Nice. Congrats.
Started in 2004, and late 2009. I had 3 classes left, and these guys I worked in the bars down there, and these guys wanted to open up a place in Tifton, Georgia, and I was like, "Yeah, dude, I'm in." Whatever my advisor says is what I'm going to do. And I went in there. Her name is Dr. Sadowski. Probably doesn't even remember me or anything like that, but she literally changed the whole course of my life. And I said, hey, got this opportunity to go run and own a bar in Tifton, and I got 3 classes left. Like, what should I do? I said, if I don't take it now, I don't think I'll have this opportunity. She goes, Valdosta State's been here since 1906. It'll be here when you want to come back. She goes, go run. I was like, dang, all right. Call my mom. She was not happy. Obviously, it's a big risk. But, yeah, and that's how I got to Tifton. And, you know, I've been in South Georgia my whole life until I moved here in the end of 2016.
Was it the bar? Was it the music venue that was out there for a while?
Yeah,
It
was the Gin. Now it's Terminal South.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did that. We got open March of, what's it, the 9th? Tomorrow would have been like the anniversary of it. So March 10th. But yeah, I was there from 2010 until the end of 2016, and kind of went back for a couple things in 2017 and at the beginning, and you know, moved my whole life up here, and I really wanted to be in publishing, and kind of got a crazy story how that happened, and you know, moved up here because you know, John gave me an opportunity, and I had really good folks like I was talking about reaching down and helping. You know, I've always had a strong support system. You know, Cole Swindell, Luke Bryan, and then their team, Dustin Eichten, Kerry Edwards. They've always believed in me, and you know, Cole. I remember sitting on Cole's porch or it was Dustin's porch. Cole just lived there, and Cole just said, hey man, dude, you're better than a bar. Like, get up here. And then he went and wrote that song. But but yeah, it's a crazy journey how I got up here. I'm very blessed. You know, God's always put me in the right situations in the right times, and you know, just being a good person, try my best to be the best person I can be. So
before we get into really like the full story, I kind of want to just touch on the Georgia music scene.
Yeah.
Because we've in previous episodes I've talked about it with a bunch of people from Georgia, Alabama, and then even from Texas.
Yeah.
You know, Texas, there's the Nashville country music,
Yeah.
and then there's Texas country music. And it's starting to become a thing where everything's blending together, but there's also different regions of music, like still Nashville music, still Texas music, and it's even becoming Georgia is its own Texas.
Yeah.
In a sense. You know, especially being in Statesboro, for me, I saw like Dylan Marlowe, Brian Fuller, like all those guys coming out of there.
Yeah, and that's always happened. What's really cool is if you ever get to go to the Georgia Theater, they have this cutout of the state of Georgia. And in this cutout, they've got all these artist names. It's Alan Jackson, it's Ray Charles, it's Outkast, it's the Allman Brothers, and you know, Brantley Gilbert. It's a mesh of music. And that's what's really cool about our state, because, you know, our state is very, you know, geographically different. You know, we have a big music hip-hop scene in Atlanta, Georgia. You go to South Georgia, it's like country music. The middle of the state, Macon, likes the Widespread Panic, and I don't want to call it hippie stuff, but like that's the best way to put it. Jam bands, that's a better way to put that. And so, you know, there's just so many different ways you get influenced. Like just my parents, like, you know, my mom loved Lionel Richie and Michael Jackson and you know, Sam Cooke and stuff like that. Then you go to the garage and Leonard Skinner and Randy Travis are blaring, and then I get to college and Lil Wayne is like taking off, and you're just like, oh, what is that? And I like to tell people about the TRL theory. You don't even know what TRL is, do you? Gosh, dang it. TRL was like a countdown music video show that was on MTV every day. And if you didn't watch that, you couldn't go to school next day because you were just out of the loop. So in a 2-hour period, you heard Limp Bizkit, Britney Spears, Korn, Usher, Backstreet Boys, just this blend of stuff. So like, you know, that's so influential. And how do you not absorb that and like different things? You know what I mean? And I don't even know if that's what you're getting at, but you know, but as just me personally, I mean, I've always I give TRL a lot of credit. That's why I fell in love with music as much as I did. You know what I mean? Because it got me to different roads for it. And now you cut on the radio and you can hear every kind of influences, whether it's in our genre or another genre. So
Yeah.
but that was big for us down there, and you know, sitting in the truck, riding dirt roads, and you know, listening to sad songs even when you're happy. Like,
Yeah.
that's like one of my favorite things to do. So
I grew up in, I'm born and raised in Fort Myers, Florida.
yeah,
It's like way on down there. Yeah, you
Fort-
probably played the ranch.
we've done the ranch, Tortuga.
Yeah.
Actually, we just did the ranch last fall. Yeah, they cook steaks outside on the grill. They're
Yeah.
man, that group of people, they roll the red carpet out.
Oh yeah.
At every level, which is cool. So
Yeah. I've had the opportunity to play there. Like I grew up going there to concerts, but I've been able to play there with artists that I work with. So I lived with Carter Smith for a while. He opened for John at the ranch.
Florida State boy.
Yeah.
He's a baseball player,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, man, that kid is so nice.
Yeah, super nice
I
kid.
really enjoy that guy, man.
We met. So right after COVID, me and a buddy from my hometown decided, this was pre me moving to Nashville. I had connections, but I still lived in Fort Myers. Didn't want to get in the industry. Didn't know anything. We were like, let's just put on a small scale music festival in Fort Myers. So we did, and I wanted the first opener to be a local guy. And Carter was down there, had just come off. I think he finished at Florida State, then went to Lipscomb. He left Lipscomb during COVID and moved home and was selling real estate down there, training to be a Navy SEAL.
Dang.
So I hit him up. I was like, hey, dude, been following you for a long time. Like, would love to have you play. He played and was like, I have no idea. Like, I want to do music, but I have no idea what to do. So we worked together. We ended up moving to Nashville together in July of 22. Lived together, and then we kind of just, our paths grew differently, but he's a good kid.
Yeah, you know, he reached out on a cold call, I think like Instagram DMs or something, and I think we talked on the phone for a little bit, and you know, I think he was like unsure about moving or something. I don't remember. That was so long ago. I mean, that was in 2019 or 2020, somewhere around there, and you know, and then he just popped up at that show at the ranch, and I was like, dang, all right, dude, like I hear you, like keep going. And you know, it's hard, like, but I mean, you're starting to learn, like, if you're not, you know, here to play the game, you can't win.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now there's different avenues now with social media kind of popping up a little bit, but you know, if you want to write the best country songs, all the best country writers are, you know, here. Not probably not in Hermitage, but they're here. You know, but props to him, man. I hope he keeps at it.
Definitely. So. But what I was getting at with the whole Fort Myers thing was, country music really wasn't huge. You have country artists that come out of Florida, but there really isn't a ton.
Yeah.
So, especially like where I was at, like this was pre me even knowing Carter. Like in high school, I knew nobody that did music, specifically country music. You would just go to the concerts at the ranch. But then I got to Georgia Southern, and it was like a whole different ball game. I mean, you had Travis Denning coming through all the time, Trey Landon, Dylan Marlowe, Brian Fuller. I mean, just a shit ton of other people. And now Statesboro has like Landon Smith and Cole Goodwin and just a ton of Gavin Adcock, a bunch of people.
Yeah, I mean, what's cool about Statesboro is they've always had the venue for it.
Yeah,
and that's a big thing. Even before Blue Room, it was Plantation Room and Rum Runners, and there's another one.
Gaddis?
No.
Because they have Southern Social now.
Yeah. John did, I think, the last show at Gaddis, and it got rated or something.
Yeah. When I was there, they didn't have it. It had just closed the year before.
But Al Chapman, that has the Blue Room, I've known Al for a long time. Sweet guy, always takes care of everybody. You know, it's cool to see him kind of, you know, even evolve to the outdoor shows over there, and it's right next to the stadium. Like, you can't beat that. And you know, Al's kind of little king of Statesboro now. And it's pretty awesome. So,
when I was there in 2018, I think it was. This was pre Whiskey Glasses. Like Whiskey Glasses was out, the Way I Talk or whatever album was out. But Whiskey Glasses like wasn't a big song. And I think the only main song he had was Up Down with Florida Georgia Line. So
Yeah.
he brought in Morgan Wallen, and it sold out for $30 a ticket.
Yep.
And to think about that now, and he's selling out multiple nights at stadiums, how quick it happens.
Dude.
But Al was on it.
Yeah, man. What's cool about that whole circuit, because that's, we work together with other cities, Valdosta, Tifton, Statesboro, Millersville, and, we'd run, we did one of FGL's first shows. I think we paid them like $600 or something crazy like that. And then Cruise hit, and boom, not back. The night Redneck Crazy went number 1 for Tyler Farr, he was on my stage in Tifton, Georgia. John Party's first show in Georgia, I believe, was with us. And, Cole brought his band down to get reps in before he did his showcase. And just, it's cool to watch that go down. And I don't think it's really like that in Georgia anymore. I think you can pretty much play Statesboro and Athens now. And I know Tifton is now called Terminal South, and they're doing some things too. So I'm hoping that kind of keeps going, because I think your previous point was Georgia just loves music.
Mm-hmm.
They just consume it. They do consume it like Texas. We don't get the notoriety that Texas has on that. But if you just take a step back and look at Georgia, I mean, Georgia is responsible for so many different things. And I think that's where the pride gets lost, because there's so many different things and not just like Texas country. You know what I mean? Like that's what they're proud of. And a lot of great things come out of Texas. I got to work with Mike Ryan for a little bit, man. He's one of the best singers I've ever heard. Parker's from Texas, Co Wetzel, even Co's a little, off of what traditional Texas is, but I don't think there's another human that embodies Texas more than Co Wetzel. And I've gotten to get close with him and Dre, his tour manager, and I love how they operate. But I think they're kind of like in a narrow space where Georgia has pop and rap and hip hop and country and jam bands, and just like, it's a buffet,
right?
So I don't think we get the notoriety for that, because even if you think about like hip hop, you think about West Coast, New York, and Atlanta, and Houston too. I can't forget Houston.
Yeah, Migos. I think aren't they out of? No, maybe they're out of Georgia.
Migos are out of Gwinnett County, Georgia.
I thought they were Houston for some reason. I think
no, Houston. Man, they went on a run when they had like Bun B and Paul Wall and the whole what is the term for that? Chopped and Screwed. That's where they would slow their music down. Oh man, it was so cool. And they went on a really good run. I think Chameleonaire's from there. I think it's Riding Dirty. Remember that song?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
So I mean, Houston, and then obviously Beyonce's from Houston, so it's like, Texas has a little bit different things like that, but the Atlanta like hip hop scene. I mean, when I was in college, it was Yin Yang Twins and Gucci Mane and Luda and T.I. and I mean, Shawty Low. Like, there's just so much coming out of there. Like, it just goes back to the point, like, we are just a smorgasbord, and we just adapt to what's cool. You know what I mean? I love being from Georgia. I know I don't rep it because I like the Gators and the Jags and stuff like that, but like, if you get on my Facebook, my header is my county's welcome sign. Like, I just love everything about Georgia. So.
Well, I will say that being from Southwest Florida, anything to me above Orlando, or maybe like we'll cut off at Gainesville, that's South Georgia.
Yeah. I mean, Jacksonville. I've seen that meme where they cut it into 3 places. Yeah. It's Miami, tourism, South Georgia.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of agree with that. But man, I tell you what, like it was such a cool area to grow up in. I mean, like I was 2.5 hours from Orlando. I was an hour and a half from Savannah, 4 hours from Atlanta. Like, we could go do things. And then, by the way, the beach is there.
Oh, yeah.
So I love where I'm from, man. Like,
St. Simon's is gorgeous.
And, St. Simon's, Frat Beach, all that stuff is right there. I mean, it took getting away from it to realize how special, Camden County and St. Mary's, Georgia is. And I miss it a lot, but you're up here for a goal and some reasons, and hopefully I can conquer that and get back down there one day.
Definitely. So, which happened first? I'm assuming you met John through like the venue in Tifton?
Yeah, kind of. So John's best friend Tyler Horn was one of my fraternity brothers at Valdosta State. And
What fraternity were you in?
I was a Kappa Sig,
Okay.
and down in Valdosta State, and he would bug us about his buddy John, like playing shows and stuff like that, and we finally listened and put him in, and me and him just hit it off. He played Valdosta Friday, played with me Saturday, and we went to Waffle House and hung out afterwards. And man, it was just something about John. He was such a good dude. He was green then. He just dropped Forever Girl, and things were just kind of happening, and it was kind of one of those things where I would always just call and talk to him, or he'd call me and ask for advice, and and that's just kind of how that went, man. And he's my best friend, and I love the dude.
So how did the tour managing thing get into play, and the publishing, and just kind of tell me your story of getting into the business, like in Nashville?
So got close with Dustin Eichton and Carrie Edwards. Carrie Edwards obviously manages Luke and Cole, and I would do random things for Farm Tour. When Farm Tour was getting going, I sat outside of a gas station and sold tickets in Valdosta. I would help load in and build a stage, or I even ran the spotlight one time. They didn't have a spotlight operator, and I just kind of always just kind of worked hard. And I think Carrie and Dustin kind of noticed that, and they were trying to figure out how to get me to Nashville with other opportunities. And I've always just been entrenched with songs and music. I was one of those guys. I would get a CD. CDs are this circular thing. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if y'all know what those are anymore.
That was before my time.
But I would rip that thing open and see who wrote these songs. Like, I knew who Dean Dillon was. Dean Dillon wasn't. Now with social media, everybody's starting to figure out, how big of a legend he is. But like, I would rip apart that George Strait CD and be like, yeah, and I would learn all these songwriters, and I just always was enamored with that. And so I knew Blaine Rhodes, who now works at Ashley Gorley's company, Tape Room. And I met like Tom Luteran and Terry Wakefield, who Terry's over at Universal and Tom's still at Sony, and through just shows and stuff like that. And I was like, I want to do that. And I met a guy named Jake Gear, and he was at Seagill Music, and we did a thing called Gin Jam. I booked Dylan Scott. CJ Solar opened up, came down for like $300. Hardy was still playing bass for CJ, and I met Jake. Jake had always, there was a time up here where you couldn't go to Losers or Tin Roof or anywhere and not see a gin hat or a shirt or something, and it was kind of the place to, go play. And man, I just hung out with Jake all night, and he was like the first publisher like I didn't have a relationship with that I kind of knew, and we talked about it, and I decided like, hey, I'm going to move up. And John needed a tour manager, so I was like, yeah, I'll do that. Let me get up here, do that, and I'll make more connections and figure it out. And so I did my first year up here. I was just a tour manager for John as he was blowing up, and I worked at Daddy's Dogs, outside of Losers on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, and then go get in a van on a Thursday and do it all again. And that Daddy's Dog job was so intricate to everything. Laney, Wilson, Farron, Rachel's, Megan Patrick, Casey Tyndall, they sneak beers out, bring them over to the hot dog, play me demos. And I sold Kid Rock a hot dog, just random stuff like that. And one night Jake Gear comes by the hot dog stand, and he's like, what are you doing? I was like, man, just not trying to blow my savings. He goes, you still want to be in publishing? He was like, yeah, well, come to my office tomorrow. So I hit him up the next morning. I was like, because I didn't know if he was just drinking or whatever. And he said, yeah, come on by 2:00 or whatever time it was. And Jake, being a good publisher, he knew that at that time Cole hadn't cut an outside song, but he knew we were buddies. And he gave me like 50 songs, and he's like, "Can you get Cole to listen to these?" And I was like, "I guess. Like, I can't play him 50 songs." He goes, "I don't care what you play him." So I took a trip to Texas with Cole, and I told him what I was doing, and he listened, and he put like 3 on hold, and ended up cutting one called "Somebody's Been Drinking," and which is a hammer. And little did I know how hard it was to get an outside cut as a publisher, much alone not being a publisher and getting an outside cut. And so Jake invites me to the little hang for the cut or whatever, and he's like, "Hey, Mark Driscoll wants to meet you." I was like, "Cool." You know, my whole objective was like, if I can show that I have these relationships with these artists, like maybe I can get a job. So I went to dinner with Mark, and it went well, and he said, "Hey, Chris Dubois wants to meet you." I was like, "What?" That goes back to being a song nerd. I knew who Chris Dubois was. I didn't know anything about Seagill. I didn't even know he owned the company. I didn't know Brad Paisley owned the company. You know, at that time I had taken a bunch of publishing meetings, and nothing just kind of worked out. So I was kind of like defeated almost. And so I went to dinner with Chris, and he liked the idea of me being a plugger and a tour manager, because I'm out on the road and seeing things, and you know, meeting people. Either John's, you know, playing for the Luke Bryans and the Morgan Wallens of the world, or like the Dylan Marlowe's and Noah Hicks are opening for us. So I'm building all these relationships out there, and they offered me a job. Dubois, I'll never forget that dinner. He's just like, "Man, I think this could work out. Like, we want to hire you." Well, then, like, I didn't hear anything for like 2 weeks, and I didn't know the music business shut down in December. I had no clue.
Yeah.
And so
I learned that too.
So I very rarely have yelled at God in my life. And I remember this day very vividly. I was working Winterfest in Centennial Park, and we had to be out there at 7:00 in the morning for Daddy's Dogs. And it was 8 degrees. It was snowing. The girl that was supposed to help me just bailed. And I was just mad. I'm pushing this cart up a hill. I'm dragging coolers. Like, they wouldn't let me drive up the hill to do anything. And so me and God were having words that morning. I mean, I had to look like a crazy person. "Why'd you move me up here? I'm just falling on my face. Like, I left such a good thing. Da 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 da." Like, just like putting up the famous yellow tent. And I'm just yelling, and I'm sitting there like, I'm just mad at God. And 3:30 on a Saturday, Mark Driscoll calls me, goes, "Hey man, we want to offer you this. You'll start in January, da 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 da." And I just cried. And I was like, "All right, I hear you. You pushing me to my limits." And Mark said, "We'll offer you this." I said, "You're an idiot. I would have done this job for free," kind of thing. And I started in January 8th of 2018, and been at Seagill ever since. There's not a better place in town. I'm very biased on that, but I love that company, and I love the people I get to work with and the writers I get to work with. So yeah, it was, and you know, still touring, which helps out both things. It's really cool. So yeah, that's kind of like the snippet story of it. But
so when you first started and they offered you that job, what was the title?
It was, I think it was just creative director. And it was a low salary. I had to go in there and prove my worth. And I understood that. And, you know, luckily, you know, being on the road with John kind of facilitated everything. But yeah, it was creative director. And, you know, when I first got there, we didn't have the system we have now. We were still kind of like, we'd get a new weekly CD and kind of go off of that. And man, I was just happy to have a desk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's one of those things, like, my first office was upstairs. It's Lynn Hutton's writing room now. And it was just a little room with a desk and a stereo and radio. And I remember sitting there that first day like, you fucking did it. Like, take this in. You might not have this that long. Because, you know, you don't right. know. And, yeah, I definitely cried up there that my first day. I was like, this is awesome. And then didn't know who wrote there. Had no clue. Mike Ryan's next door writing. And I remember looking at Jake Gear and going, "Dude, Mike Ryan's next door." And he was just like, "Yeah, dude, he writes here." Like, I was like, oh, hell yeah. And then I met Bobby Pinson. I don't know if you know who Bobby is or not, but Bobby is one of the most prolific writers this town has ever seen. And, you know, I used to listen to his record, Don't Ask Me How I Know. And I got to meet him, and man, it's just, it's so cool, man. Honestly, like, I'm very, very lucky. There's a lot of times where I pinch myself because the right thing happened. Did I have to wait? Did I get mad? Did I get frustrated? Did I get upset? Yeah, but you know, patience is like the biggest thing in the world, and I'm glad God granted me enough patience. Not all the patience I needed, but enough patience to figure out, like, hey, like, I found you a home. And I always told Chris, I was like, you cracked a door for a homeless dog, and I'm gonna be here a while. So. And I love that company, dude.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's motivating to hear because I just started. So last August, River House hit me up to just be like a part-time scout, just kind of help out in the A&R department. I didn't have a desk. I was just work from home, you know, kind of just do whatever I wanted, but they're also just have me like on. I mean, it's really part-time. And then come January, they called me and they were like, we want you in full time.
Heck yeah, dude.
And they hired me as an A&R coordinator on the countryside. So now I have a desk. It's the first time I've like been here and I've had somewhere to go other than my apartment where I'm like just grinding from a desk in my apartment or a coffee shop. So
it's funny how wood makes you feel, huh?
Yeah.
It's I love that company over there too. I love Lynn. Zeb was a college kid in my bar.
Yeah. Yeah, because he went to
ABAC. Yeah, man. So I've known Zeb a long, long time. He was like one of the first people I actually met in Tipton. It was, what is the name? It was like a Mexican restaurant. I went up there a couple weeks earlier looking for people to hire and stuff, and it was like all they had was a Mexican restaurant. They hung out on Wednesdays. I cannot remember what it was called. But yeah, I met Zeb and I met
It's not El Sombrero, is it?
No, that's in Statesboro.
I didn't know if it was a chain over there.
No, this was, I cannot remember what it's called. But yeah, man, and to watch Zeb's whole journey go down, you know, I mean, I think Zeb's first job out of college was like selling cigarettes or something like that, or beer. I don't remember what it was, but to watch him kind of, you know, he moved to here before I did. You know, the only connections he had were, I guess, people he met, you know, playing at the bar kind of thing. And now he's the general manager or I don't know his exact title or
vice president.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, to watch him kind of come up here and just kind of work. I mean, it's, you know, it's kind of cool, man. Like it's cool to watch him as a college kid go tackle the world kind of thing. So a lot of love for Zeb, a lot of love for Lynn and, you know, Cappy and that whole thing over there, man. And Kayla, I love working with Kayla.
Oh yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah, and she's Valdosta, so
you can hear it.
Yeah,
you can hear the Georgia in her voice.
Yeah, man. Kayla, you know, I'm the worst emailer in town. People know that, just because of so much stuff I'm juggling, and Kayla keeps me honest. So a lot of love for her, and her husband's great, and yeah, it's cool to watch just people from where I'm from, like, do the damn thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's refreshing. So we've got our own little, like, Georgia Mafia is like a real thing.
It really is.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just cool to see, you know, people come from where I'm from, and you know they have a dream and they go chase it, and you know I love it.
And that was like one of my biggest points early on when I was talking about the Georgia thing. Like when I was deciding where I wanted to go to school, and I chose Georgia Southern. I mean, being from Florida, I had no idea. And then to move to Nashville, like when I was there, I got an idea. But once I moved to Nashville, it was like, holy shit, this is like having that. Yeah. Having gone to Georgia Southern, it was like a huge thing for me because it's like now I can say that it helps with connections. Like I didn't realize what it meant to the music industry until I moved to Nashville.
That's just one of those towns, man. I mean, Statesboro was a place I'm 38 now. If my mom watches this, I can say I was sneaking up there, you know, sneaking into bars and stuff. And You know, Cole Swindell's done a lot for that university. I mean, shoot, he wears the Georgia Southern hat.
Yeah.
And he's proud of it. You know, he's loyal to it. He supports all their athletics, basketball, golf, like anything they're doing. I mean, he goes to games, like, you know, and then the Trey Landon shows up.
Yeah.
I love that boy. That Trey Landon he's got pipes. So I'm not saying that Cole influenced Trey or anything like that because I don't know that, but like, might have shown Trey it's possible.
Right.
You know, I'm pretty sure Dallas, Davison, and Haslett went there too.
I'm not sure.
I know Dallas did, but
I thought Hayslip went to UGA.
maybe.
I'm not entirely sure.
He loves Georgia.
Yeah.
That's all I know. But then songwriters, Dallas Davison did this. I can do this. I can come from Statesboro. And then you got your Dylan Marlowe's and your Brian Fuller's, like you said, and then another wave of kids you just mentioned that I don't even know about.
Yeah, it's insane how many people are there right now.
Yeah, man, it's just, you know, Rob Pennington, he's a songwriter. He's over at 50 Egg, and I've known Rob for a long time. He used to do those 4-hour cover gigs at Rum Runners, and now he's up here getting Chris Jansen cuts and you know and Mason Ramsey cuts and doing the thing. You know, it's I don't know if it's because it's easy access and it's an easy move. You know what I mean? Whether because we're so close to Nashville or not, but I mean, I just love it. You know, I love watching people go chase a dream, and I'm pulling for you. Like, you know what you said at the beginning about like inspiration or whatever that is, man. Like, I didn't even know that. You know, so. Go for it, man.
I appreciate it.
You know, get a bigger desk.
I'm trying.
Lynn's got it. She can get you a bigger desk. You know? But Lynn, I mean, even Lynn's story, there's a lot of wisdom in your building around you, dude.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I like to tell everybody is be a sponge, soak it up. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I know she's busy, but like, take her to lunch on your own dime and just soak up as much as you can from her and Zeb and Kayla and everybody else over there.
Yeah.
And that's what you got to do. I mean, things evolve, things change. They're still learning. They learn something every day. And if you get to a place where you don't think you should learn something every day, you might as well pack that suitcase up.
Right.
Because you're going to be left in the dust.
Yeah. I mean, they've been so good to me, and that's one of the main things Zeb said when he hired me was just like, there's so much that you can just learn here by just being here. Like, we want you in office because, I mean, that's where you'll gain the most knowledge. You'll learn so fast just being here. Yeah. And it's been awesome. I've been there since February 12th was my first day. I'll never forget it.
Heck yeah, dude.
So almost a month coming up.
Good.
But yeah, so in the publishing world, what would you say, because obviously this is a music business podcast for listeners who maybe want to do what you do.
Yeah.
What would you say is the biggest thing that you've come to learn? Obviously you started to love the songwriting aspect of the music business, but now that you're in it, what's the biggest thing that you've come to learn?
Oh man, that's a loaded question. I mean, I'm the same as you. I didn't go to Belmont. I go to MTSU. Like, I forged my own path, like you did, which is okay. That's not a knock on, you know, the universities here or anything like that, because I think they do a very good job of preparing you for it. But when you do it like we did, we got to be a bigger sponge. They're coming in knowing what splits and royalties are. They've learned the technical stuff like that. Like, you know, that's somewhere where I'm still weak at. Like, contracts. Like, I get them in the building and then go, I want them, and I let everybody else talk money. I don't want to talk money with anybody.
Right.
I honestly, I think I know what 2 of my writers make, and there's like 17 of them. But just being a sponge, man, like I know I've said that a couple of times, but just with everything, how everything changes and moves around a lot too, like you're always learning. Networking is like the strongest thing you can do. You don't have to go to Red Door and all these places and get trashed and whatever. Just go meet people, go to rounds, BMI, ASCAP, CSAC events, go to those. networking is the biggest thing you can do, because if you meet somebody while you're out, they down the line can create an opportunity for you, or might have an opportunity for you. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a simple business but complicated at the same time.
Right.
If that makes sense to you.
For sure.
I just love songwriters. I think, song champions are kind of going away sometimes just because of the evolution of the business. But they make the music you love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, take care of them. It's like I have so much pride, even if it's not one of the writers on my artist, like Jessie Joe Dillon, when she's crushing right now. Yeah. I make sure I tell her, like, hey, you are killing it. I don't work with you, and I'm seeing this kind of thing. And just being a good person, man. There's so many better pluggers than me out there. Like, hands down, I openly, I'm not even the best plugger in my building. Just being 100% honest with you. There's so many legends around this business, and people have seen people come and go, and there's a few people that have been here a while in a good way. And, getting a mentor, to getting somebody you can lean on that's kind of seen that kind of stuff. I'm very blessed to have a bunch of people I look up to that will answer a phone call. Brian Wright, who was the head A&R at Universal. I lean on him. I lean on Dustin. I lean on Carrie, Chris Dubois. I mean, Brandon Gregg in my building, Kim Wiggins in the building. Like, they've been in the business for a minute. They've seen people come and go. They've seen fads. They've seen all this stuff. And, just to be able to go to their offices and be like, what do you think about this? I'll be honest. They've stopped me from making mistakes. They do it on the reg, because I didn't have that training or anything like that. So right. I just thought, oh, let's go. And they've done a good job of slowing me down in a good way. So,
and then on the touring side, what's it like? Because if you're still touring and then working that full-time job, I mean, you still living that road life. How's that getting for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be a liar if I said it wasn't tough sometimes. If we leave on Thursday, I'm in the office Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, most of Thursday until bus call or whenever the schedule says. And then, you get home Sunday morning, 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., drive through the night, whatever that is. And I've got like one day with my wife, one day to get laundry done, one day to go to Costco, and then I'm right back at it. I mean, it's tiring, but, my love of, look, dude, I got buddies at home that are firefighters that work at the naval base that, and they work. That's hard work. That's real work. They keep society going. I mean, you could say music does that too, but like, without my buddy Stuart, who's a firefighter, houses are burning down. Mm-hmm. I go to an office and I listen to music and I pitch it to artists and record labels and stuff. And then I get on the weekends to travel with my best friends and get paid for it. Like, let's be real here. Like, I'm a spoiled brat. There's times where I'm like, man, like, I'm kind of tired of this. And then I thought, like, what would you do? Like, and I'm like, I can't work a real job. Like, I'm soft. Like, the callous hands days are gone for me, But I think about them, I think about my buddies back home that, or my stepdad who worked, 40 years for the naval yards and retired. Like, that's work. What we do is like an opportunity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So as long as you can keep that perspective on things, like, you'll be all right.
Yeah, I've never ever thought of it that way. That's a good mentality to way to think of it.
Well, I was telling a writer the other day, they didn't get this big cut, and it's like, hey man, like, your dad sells tires. He clocks out and doesn't think about tires till the next day. You don't get that opportunity. You get on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or even cut the TV on and it's thrown back in your face that like you lost this. You know what I mean? Like you couldn't even see a picture of the artist and be like, dang, I lost that cut. And that's just regular things, you know? The tire guy's not, you know, he's not getting on Goodyear's Instagram and looking at, you know, oh, they got better tires than us. No. You got to be strong mentally for our business. And whatever that is, whether it's, you know, physical condition, whether it's your faith, you know, that's something I lean strong on, you know, and it's been so inspiring to learn that a lot of other people do too. Like big shout out to Jordan Rowe for Music Row Ministries. I mean, I've got to see that go down from the start, and you know, he is like, man, if he doesn't make it as a country artist, that boy's gonna be a preacher.
Yeah.
And just leaning on your network, man. Like leaning on your mentors, but don't forget, like, you know, it's okay. I'll tell you this, Brooke Taylor, who works for iHeartRadio, she's a dear friend of mine, known her for so long. You know, she said something to me one day. She said, I'm just tired of doing the leading. I need to be led. I'm like, yeah, like it's okay. Like you don't have to be the strong person for everybody else because sometimes you need that. I'll never forget that rest of my life. I'm tired of leading. I need to be led. And it's okay for you to go there. So just lean on your network, man.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
being a good person and whatever that is for your mentality, whether it's, you know, working out or faith-based or, you know, taking that vacation, whatever that is. Music business is going to be here. You know, I think over COVID, a lot of people learn there's more important things out there.
Mm-hmm.
And just slowing down and realizing that too. I mean, I do the same thing. Like I have to make sure dude, I'm going to tell you, you ever see my wife? I still can't tell you how I did that. Like I stole Bobby Pinson's joke and I tell it all the time. She's the best blind deaf girl in the world, man. Like, and I had to slow down for her, you know, because she got the very smallest amount of my time.
Yeah.
It was touring and it was publishing and music stuff. And now it's like, you know, I realize what's important out there. And yes, I do love my writers and I do love being on the road with John, but you know, I don't know. Just finding what's important to you. I'm just babbling, dude.
No, I love it. Like
Yeah.
it's important for people to hear this stuff because
Yeah.
it's real.
Just shut off, man. Like it is what it is. You know, like call your mom, you know, call your dad, whatever, you know, I don't know, shut it off sometimes and come back to it and you'll be in a better mind frame to attack what you want to attack. So,
yeah, it's awesome.
yeah.
So to conclude all that, is that like, what's your advice to people trying to get into the industry? Was that similar to what you just said?
Yeah, it's just networking, man. Like that's the strongest. Like Joe Hutzel, I think I already said it earlier, but Joe Hutzel, he plays guitar for Cole Swindell, and he's a great songwriter. He told me a long time ago, he's like, man, if you're not there to play the game, how are you going to win? And just having that mentality of being as present as you can be, as much as you can be at the events, be at the whiskey jams, be at the Raise Rowdy events, just being seen and networking, because you never know what opportunities could fall into your lap, literally fall into your lap. You know, if I don't talk to Jake Gear and I just treat him as like another little tour manager for the day, like, I don't know what I'd be doing.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just having conversations and talking, really.
Where is Jake here at? Is he at Hang Your Hat?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. I knew it sounded familiar.
Yeah, he works with Hillary Lindsay and Chris LaCourte and Ben Chapman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
I know Emily over there. Emily was, do you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've met her in passing through Jake.
Yeah. She, I was on Instagram and she had 2 writers rounds in town, 6 String Sessions and Gold Lasso Show.
Okay.
And she was looking for interns to help book for that. So I did an internship with her.
Yeah.
So she helped me a lot, helped me make a lot of connections with writers. And
she didn't have to do that. Mm-mm. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
So it's answering DMs. It's, you know, so many different things, man. It's just trying to be present and just be a good person, man. If you can help somebody, help them.
Right.
Help them till they burn you or whatever that is. So,
as being in the publishing business, what do you look for with songs other than just like a good song? Like, what are the specifics of that?
man, music is subjective. There are songs that get turned in that are lyrically fantastic, and I dive into that. There's also like melodic things, you know what I mean? Like, I was just explaining this. I did a little pitch event thing. Some girl won a contest, and I like talked to her about her songs and stuff like that. And I mean, I don't know. It's such a subjective thing to talk about. Me personally, I'm depending on what I'm listening to is what I like. I love girl pop. I love Kesha. I love Fletcher, like, because they're Rita Ora. Love Rita Ora. Their melodies are just I'm not getting that here. You know what I mean? But like, I cut on country music. I like, Keith Whitley's one of my favorites. Alan Jackson. I love Zach Top right now. He's because they're saying things. That's why I'm proud about John's record that he put out in September. I mean, he said a lot of things. There's a song called Granddaddy's Watch out there, and it's his grandfather was like his best friend, and he sadly passed away a few years ago, and he finally got to get that off his chest. So there's a video on YouTube of Ash McBride playing "Girl Going Nowhere" at the Opry.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, that chokes me up every time I watch it. I watch it like 100 times. And
Yeah.
it's just like you can see the pain, the agony, and the relief that she finally made it.
Yeah, I watched her play it acoustic at the Ryman at her album release party, and
it's bone chilling,
incredible.
Dude, the one of the coolest things I ever got to watch was like Whiskey Jam did their 10-year anniversary at the Ryman, and Ward being the homie, he kind of let me help backstage with corralling artists and kind of just being an extra hand for him, and he knew I knew most people playing. And I watched Craig Campbell sing "Outskirts of Heaven" acoustic. You could hear a pin drop. I've never heard that. It's like that song was written by Dave Turnbull. That song was written for that moment, I believe. You'll never convince me otherwise. And Craig, Craig's just one of the best singers that's ever walked through this town. And like those are the moments that's like a drug. Like that I'm chasing that next kind of like, I want to see that again. You know what I mean? Like Brothers Osborne did the CRS show a couple of years ago at Universal at the Ryman, and they play. Everybody else kind of had a band, and they did it acoustic, and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, they just did that this year too.
Yeah,
insane.
So that's what I look for. You know what I mean? Like when the production and the lyrics match up, and you get that perfect like, oh my god, this is it moment. I mean, it happens every day here.
It's funny you bring up the Outskirts of Heaven thing, because I've been able to work with Craig for the past almost 2 years now.
Yeah, he's a homie, dude. He's a good dude.
Yeah, with an artist of mine that was under his record label, Grindstone Records. But he played Burrill's Outside the Round, Brennan Cato's Takeover.
Mm-hmm.
And he played, I mean, Live Oak was packed. And he was bitching about how loud it was when someone was playing. Logan Crosby was playing. He was like, no one's paying attention. Like, that's bullshit. He finishes with Outskirts of Heaven, and it was like, I have a video of it on my phone. Not a single person was talking.
Yeah, man.
Everyone was just like in awe.
Craig Campbell can stop a room, man. Yeah, I'm glad he's still releasing music and doing his own thing, and doing the independent kind of route thing. And the world needs more Craig Campbell songs.
Yeah.
And he's from Georgia, Lyons, Georgia, which is basically Statesboro. So another Georgia plug right there. But yeah, I mean, it's, when it comes to the song though, like different things are going to hit you different. You just got to be aware when it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
I love the writers I get to work with over at Seagill, because they all do different things. You know, Brett Cherokee going to tell you a story. Len Hutton's going to tell you a story. Jordan Gray's going to come in with this like cool melodic thing. You're like, oh shit. So and then Claire Ernst is over there, and she's like not country at all. She's she does the pop kind of soul R&B kind of thing, and getting to hear her stories they're fantastic. And Maggie Rose is with us, and getting to hear that her thing, because it's not just it's not country and it's not Americana. It's Maggie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Maggie's so talented. I'm so excited the world gets to hear her album in April come out, and she's worked her butt off for this moment, and she signed over at Big Loud Big Loud Records, and they're having a ball with her over there. So I'm just it's cool to to work but also be a fly on the wall when all this kind of cool stuff happens. You're just like, the glory's never going to come to us, and you got to be okay with that. But watching, somebody get their first number one, or like what that stuff means to them, that's them buying a house. That's them putting their kids in college. That's them getting out of debt and getting to zero. And, just watching, same as you, just watching people move up here, leave their hometown, and achieve their dream.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay that you moved up here and chased it. All the power to you. Hang your hat on that, because not everybody can pack their stuff up and move up here. But when you see them achieve that, dude, I mean, it's the most gratifying thing in the world. Getting to work with Jordan Fletcher for so long, like, he was selling merch for Muscadine Bloodline, and now he's got a record deal, and he's putting music out and hopefully going to radio and living his dream. He left Jacksonville, Florida for that. All these guys and girls, they left their hometown to achieve a dream. So I think props need to be given for chasing it.
Absolutely.
So achieving is just the cherry on top. So
it has been cool as now that I'm in an office and I'm somewhere that's not just me doing it independently.
Yeah.
Seeing, like, the first time I walked into River House, seeing the records on the wall, the plaques.
Yeah, man.
It's like all the Luke Combs stuff, and you got some Ash McBride, and then being in the office every day, seeing the writers that come in for rights. I mean, we just signed Dean Dillon. One of my first days in office, Dean Dillon walks in. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, man.
Like, that guy wrote one of the most famous country songs of all time.
Yeah, man.
With Tennessee Whiskey. And then, I mean, Neil Medley.
Neil's a beast.
I mean, he wrote Made for You, Jay Goen, which is like, that's one of my favorite songs ever.
Oh, yeah. I love what's really cool. And Kayla, you should talk to Kayla about this one day. It's really cool for a song to start at your desk and end up on the radio. And then seeing your people back home like post about it, not knowing that that's your company or anything like that, man. That's just one of the biggest joys there are out there, man. It's really cool to see that start from a work tape, or shoot, even I'll tell you this, Cam Newby, who's one of our new guys, Jordan Gray and Jordan Fletcher wrote a hammer the other day, and they couldn't get a work tape done fast enough, and then all three of them came over, and each one of them brought their guitars, and they played it in my office. I posted a photo from that on my story that day, and I truly believe that song's going to change their lives altogether, which is really cool, and that's all three Seagill writers, and there's nothing better than that, I promise you. It's like I was talking about, the high, like that, I want to run through a wall that day. I couldn't get that song out fast enough to people, so it's just cool. It's not work, but it's cool.
This may be like a little bit of a loaded question, but the biggest thing that I've encountered being in Nashville and working with so many independent artists, whether it's on the label side or the publishing side or booking, whatever it is, they struggle to find a way to get that. And I know to get all of those things. And I know a lot of them, it comes with numbers, and numbers, sadly, in a sense, it's the biggest thing in music, in my opinion. But when it comes to independent artists, but what do you think an artist needs to do to get that publishing deal, or to have songs cut by like other artists while they're independent, if that makes sense?
So you're saying somebody that doesn't have a publishing deal, how do they go about things?
Pretty much. How do they get that? Or how do they get a song cut without having a publishing deal? Because I have so many questions about it, because I've been wondering it forever.
It's hard. The smartest thing you can do is network and get into rooms with people that have the publishing deals. Let's just say you're a songwriter, right? And you become buddies with, Jordan Fletcher. He's going to turn that song into me. And I'm like, dang, that sounds like a Jake Owen song. Let's get it over there. And then guess what happens? That song gets cut. Everybody sees your name. They're like, who's this guy? The door's open. It comes back to what I'm saying about being a good person and networking.
Mm-hmm.
Do that, because there's a dude in Red Door tonight with his last $50 to his name that will sell out a stadium one day. And you don't know who that is. This is a lottery town. Be good to those people. Write with them. I mean, you look at the whole Combs clan, Ray Fulcher, he didn't have a publishing deal. Combs didn't have a publishing deal. None of those. Thomas Archer, I think Thomas Archer did have one. But all those guys on those first records and females, they all got publishing deals, and because they believed in Luke and wrote with Luke, and, it progressed them. You never, like I said, the next Luke Combs and next Morgan Wallen, they're here right now. They're here right now. And you just got to write. Just write. Get your reps in. It's just like working out. You get stronger the more you lift and the more you do it. Like, that's how you get better songs. And, getting a publishing deal it's hard. It's a lot of determination, and you can't you're going to run into brick walls. It's just like, find a hole in it and start carving in it.
Yeah.
And get through it. But my biggest advice is, if you're writing with your buddies and your buddy pops off and gets the publishing deal, write with them. Don't be jealous of it. Don't be like, I've been here longer and I've got this and I got that. No one cares. Every level you're starting over. You sign that publishing deal, guess what? You're there to prove yourself worthy of it. You sign that record deal, you don't get to breathe. That's like, oh shit, let's go.
Yeah.
Kind of moment. So
how often are you getting Schedule A's sent over to you unsolicited?
Oh, daily.
Are you listening? Do you?
No.
Yeah.
I don't want to say no. We can't. Because let's just say somebody sends me a song and 2 months later, my writer writes that title or writes that ID or something like that. That's just grounds for suing. So,
yeah.
If I ask for it, that's when I listen. Or if like somebody recommends somebody to me kind of thing, I'll meet with them and listen first, but I've got to have some kind of communication. I mean, people are starting to even send me songs on LinkedIn. And
I had that happen to me.
And it's just, you can't, because you open yourself up to losses. I mean, the CEO gets called every day about it. People show up at the front door trying to drop CDs off. Social media, direct messages, my email's out there. My email's not hard if you can figure it out, but I just can't open them. I quickly delete them, and it's got to be through the right courses. And anybody that's trying to do that, I recommend you going to sign up for PRO at BMI, ASCAP, or CSAC, and letting them kind of guide that process for you. Or NSAI, which is a great organization. Lisa over there is a champion for unsigned songwriters. get a meeting with her and get signed in through there and start writing with the NSAI writers, and doors will open up for you. So
Thank you for answering that. So 'cause
yeah,
I know
you just can't, man. It just opens.
Yeah.
It opens up lawsuits. It opens up a bunch of stuff, and it's just like and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to not listen to those. Some of them. It's hard because like they have a dream and they want to do this, and it's just like if there's a song called "Hang Your Hat" that gets cut, and that's in my messages or whatever, that opens us up. So we can't listen to it unsolicited. Now, if you want to set up a meeting and stuff like that, then we can figure that part out. But, always start with like coffees and lunches and or beers or whatever that is. And if you're trying to get a meeting with a publisher, just don't send them 97 messages saying, you need to hear this song. You need to hear this song, because we can't.
Yeah.
We've got our own 22 writers. We have to listen to their songs and get those out the door and stuff like that. But if somebody takes the right approach, I mean, you can ask around. I meet with everybody I can, whether it's, artists with record deals already that just need to get some stuff off their chest, or, somebody, because I know my role, especially with Georgia, all these guys watch John's career progress, and they watch Luke Bryan, and then, I had the bar, and then I get the publishing job. And so I've seen a lot of the music business. There's a lot of these artists you named earlier I still talk on the phone with every other week and let them kind of vent their frustrations and stuff like that. So like I know my role for people from Georgia.
Yeah.
And I don't take that lightly. I'll do everything I can to help anybody from Georgia. I'll help anybody anywhere, but like it goes back to your original point. I'm just proud of being from there, man. And I want people from where I'm from to win. So,
yeah. When it comes to the publishing thing, I know there's a lot of, at least I've seen, a lot of independent, just me being in the rounds, like working with the writers round and stuff. I've seen so many independent artists that have asked me my advice on that. And I don't know, because they have hundreds of songs that are just itching to be cut by somebody.
Yeah, so do we.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
what I mean?
It's like, how do they...
That Seago catalog's 25 years old.
Yeah.
There's a lot of songs we want cut in there.
There's a lot of people that are asking, do I just send songs to these people? Do I send them directly to the artist to listen to, producers, or do I just like play rounds and until someone finds me?
I mean, playing rounds helps. Shoot, Wolf. We just signed a kid named Wolf Mahler, and I went to a pitch to plug meeting at NSAI and found him there. I mean, if there was a playbook and an ABCD way to do this, everybody would do it.
Right.
You never know. It's networking and being out there. And, even if you don't feel like going, you need to show up, because the people that are winning are the ones that, there's a songwriter I know that I won't say their name or anything, but they would go dig a beer bottle out of the trash can and act like they were there socializing because they didn't have any money to drink. And now they've got a lot of number ones because they were always present. So, but yeah, and when you're present, you can meet these people and get a meeting and do it the right way. Me personally, that's the way I like to go. And I appreciate people who reach out and say, hey, I would love to come play you some songs, or hey, would you like to grab a coffee or whatever. Just not spamming them with songs. Like they're never going to listen. They shouldn't listen to that, so.
And last question on this publishing side.
Yeah.
So the Charles Wesley Godwin song that just came out, are you familiar with him?
Him, yes. Have I listened? Not yet.
It's written by himself.
Yeah.
And I know Zach Bryan does that, Taylor Swift. As a in the publishing business, what would you say? I mean, basically, would you listen to someone that writes by themselves?
Yeah. I mean, that's where you get all your honesty from. The people you just named, they write what they feel is honest.
Yeah.
I tell my writers to write by themselves sometimes. It's just good mental reps. no one knows you better than you. So I encourage people to still write by yourselves. I mean, Jordan Fletcher does it religiously, and he gets great songs out of it. Shoot, Josh Phillips,
Yeah,
Dirt Cheap. He
yeah.
came in my office last May and played that and said, Cody Johnson's cutting this. And I was just like, damn it. Like, I love that moment where you're like, the song is so good and it's not your company song. You're just like, mother,
Yeah.
and I just like, dang, dude, you're going to be rich. Like, rich. And they just put it to radio.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's going to be a number one real quick.
It's a win for Music Row.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 100%er outside doesn't happen. And it couldn't happen to a better dude. Josh Phillips is a dude I've known. He played my bar back in the day. I've known Josh a long time through the record deal. I've known his wife for a long time, Jordan. And he deserves everything he's getting. So, but yeah, I mean, and he just did that because he was at the house and something hit him.
Yeah.
And he wrote it. So always write by yourself.
Even for independent artists that are trying to use those songs to get a publishing deal.
Yeah, I mean, like you might write Dirt Cheap.
Yeah.
You don't know, or you could start something that you can't get the hang of and go, hey, like, I need some help on this and bring somebody else in on it. You know what I mean? Like, people bite on that all the time.
Yeah.
So always write by yourself. So
awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on and letting out all the wisdom.
Oh man, I'm as useful as a wet towel sometimes. But I appreciate it, and I'm glad you reached out and asked. I don't do a lot of these. I like to kind of stay in the background kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But anything for the Raised Rowdy boys, and they've done a lot to help me out too with having some of my people jump on these things and playing rounds and stuff. So I'm excited to watch your journey, man.
Appreciate it.
I just hope you grab coffee and lunch with Lynn and Zeb and Kayla, and really there's 3 smart people around you every day.
Yeah.
And just hone that in. That goes to anybody, man. Just get you a mentor and network, and just be a good person.
Definitely.
So,
well, I appreciate it. I know it was last minute me asking you to do this too. So
no, dude, it's all good. I'm going to the Gator Vandy basketball game today. So
oh, nice.
Yeah, man. So I'm excited. It's a good Saturday, a rare Saturday. I'm in town. So
I think Florida's ranked 25 on the AP coaches poll, but they're not ranked in the actual.
Yeah, man. We were ranked 24. We dropped the ball on the road at South Carolina, lost by like 6, and then spanked Alabama 105-79 or something crazy like that. But we dropped out of the rankings, losing to the number 13 team at home, which baffled me, and then spanked them. It's just like, come on, man. Like, so, but SEC tournaments here next week. It's going to be a good week of college basketball. Are you Gator? You Seminole? You Miami?
So my mom, and I have like no family in Florida other than my immediate family.
Okay.
All my mom's side of the family is from Morgantown, West Virginia. So I grew
Go
up
Nears, baby.
Yeah, I grew up a huge Mountaineer fan.
Morgantown, West Virginia. And you can keep this part in because I want people to know. Because John laughs at me all the time. He says, if you ever run away, I know where you're going. It's Morgantown, West Virginia. There's not a better, cooler town in this whole
100%
country.
100% agree.
There's a place called Crockett's. It's a little sports bar. This is a free plug. The best wings in the country.
Oh,
Old Bay. They do Old Bay
I have
wings.
to disagree with you.
I don't know.
My family owns a pizza place and wing spot called Colasante's.
Yeah.
That's the best wings.
Yeah, well, you have to say that. I haven't had those yet, but Crockett's, man, it's one of those places like you get a pitcher of beer for $5. You get cheap wings that are delicious, and you can be in there for 4 hours playing the touch tunes and just forget where you are. It's I love Morgantown.
It's such a great spot.
Yeah, man. Shout out to West Virginia Steve. He used to be the equipment manager for the basketball team.
Oh, nice.
So that's how I got an affinity for that place. We went up for football games and basketball games and sat on the court. And I think besides Florida gear, I think I have more West Virginia gear than I have.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, man. I have a soft spot for the West Virginia. So
I'm trying to go to a game this year. I didn't get to go last year.
Oh, and Tudor's Biscuits, too. That's another plug
Oh,
right
yeah.
there. Tudor's. If you're ever in West Virginia, go to Tudor's Biscuits. These biscuits are like that big. Oh, man, they're so good. So, talking about food, I'm about to hit Nadine's up. There's another plug, Nadine's in Hermitage. I'm just full of plugs today. So,
Speaking of plugs, you want to plug your socials, your personal socials, or
yeah, man. It's just everything's just JD Groover, Twitter. Not a lot of music stuff on the Twitter. That's more for sports and wrestling. I still watch wrestling.
Nice.
But Instagram's just JD Groover, and I kind of keep the Facebook to family and friends.
Yeah.
So, and then LinkedIn, but don't send me songs.
Well, thank y'all for listening to another episode of Behind the Music Biz, a Raised Rowdy podcast. Please go like and follow the podcast wherever you listen. And you can check out more from Raised Rowdy at raisedrowdy.com. And you can check out the podcast on Instagram at Behind the Music Biz. And we'll see y'all next Tuesday.